It's April 1st, bleeding into April 2nd, 2026. The President of the United States steps up to a podium to deliver a national address. He looks directly into the camera and declares, with absolute certainty, that core strategic objectives are nearing completion. He tells the American public that U.S. airstrikes have been so devastatingly effective that Iran is, and I quote, truly no longer a threat. It's a victory speech. It is designed to signal the end of major combat operations. But in military intelligence, we have a saying, the enemy always gets a vote. And right at the exact moment those words were being broadcast across global television networks, the skies over the Middle East were violently disagreeing. While the teleprompter was rolling in Washington, air raid sirens were screaming across Bahrain. Not just anywhere in Bahrain, directly over the headquarters of the United States Navy's Fifth Fleet. Emergency red alerts triggered, personnel scrambling for bunkers. A simultaneous multi-axis ballistic missile and suicide UAV barrage pounding the Gulf in Israel at the exact same time. Bnei Brak in Israel, Dubai in the UAE, Bahrain in the Persian Gulf. Let me be clear about what that means. When your adversary can launch a synchronized multinational strike package against your most heavily defended naval command center, while your commander-in-chief is literally on television saying the threat is eliminated, deterrence hasn't just failed. Deterrence is dead. I have spent years assessing these exact types of weapons capabilities, and I am telling you right now, this was not a desperate dying gasp from a decimated military. This was a calculated, synchronized demonstration of force. The Iranian military didn't just target geography, they targeted the American political narrative. Let's look at the operational reality on the ground, because the math is brutal, and the math is what will ultimately decide this conflict. The incoming wave consisted of Shahed 136 suicide UAVs and the Fateh and Zolfaghar series of short-range ballistic missiles. A Shahed 136 costs Iran roughly $20,000 to produce. A single Fateh-class ballistic missile costs somewhere between $100,000 and $300,000. That is the cost of the offense. Now, look at the defense. To intercept a $20,000 drone threatening the Fifth Fleet, the United States is forced to fire a Patriot PAC-3 interceptor. The cost? Approximately $4 million per missile. In Israel, to stop a $300,000 Zolfaghar from obliterating infrastructure in Bnei Brak, the IDF is firing Arrow-3 interceptors. The cost? Roughly $3 million per shot. Do that arithmetic. The US and Israel are spending between 10 and 200 times more to shoot down a target than Iran is spending to launch it. In my time working with targeting and defense matrices, we call this an unsustainable exchange ratio. You are burning millions of dollars in highly advanced, slow-to-produce interceptors to swat down cheap, mass-produced munitions. The Pentagon will show you the interception footage. They will brag about the success rate. What they won't show you is the spreadsheet. They are winning the PR war of the nightly news cycle, but they are catastrophically losing the war of attrition. Look at how the mainstream media played their part in this deception. On April 1st, CBS News ran the headline mirroring the administration's fantasy. Iran war's core strategic objectives are nearing completion, Trump says. They printed it without a second thought. They sold you the victory. But by the very next day, April 2nd, the Associated Press and PBS were forced to publish the reality. Their headline? Iran fires on Israel and Gulf neighbors as Trump claims threat from Tehran nearly eliminated. Notice the whiplash? That is what happens when a manufactured political narrative collides head-on with a mathematically sound, operationally patient military doctrine. You cannot spin a ballistic missile impact. Let me tell you exactly why those Iranian missiles kept flying, even after Washington claimed total aerial dominance. Lieutenant Colonel Ebrahim Zolfaghari, speaking for the Iranian military command, confirmed exactly what I have warned about for years. Iran's subterranean munitions depots, the deep-buried, mountain-fortified infrastructure that holds their Fateh and Zolfaghar missile systems, remain completely intact. Having served as an intelligence analyst, I can tell you with absolute certainty, you can drop all the precision-guided munitions you want on empty launch pads and decoy radar sites. But if your bunker busters cannot crack the subterranean logistics chain, you have not neutralized the threat. You have only made it angry. And you have wasted hundreds of millions of dollars doing it. Now look at where that unbroken logistics chain is directing its firepower. They didn't just hit Bnei Brak in Israel, they targeted Dubai and Bahrain. Dubai is the financial nervous system of the Middle East. Its entire economy relies on the perception of absolute, unshakable stability. You put a $20,000 Shahed 136 drone into the airspace over Dubai, and you don't just damage a building. You shatter the economic confidence of an entire region. Capital flight follows the sirens. And Bahrain? Bahrain is the home of the United States Navy's Fifth Fleet. It is the very symbol of American maritime hegemony in the Persian Gulf. When that base goes into a red alert, when American sailors are forced to shelter in place from incoming ballistic missiles, the message Tehran is sending is not tactical, it is strategic. They are sending a message to every Gulf state that relied on Washington for protection. They are saying the American shield is cracking, their interceptor magazines are running dry, and the safe zones you were promised do not exist anymore. This is the macro reality that nobody in the Pentagon briefing room will admit. We are trading $4 million Patriot PAC-3s for $20,000 drones, and we are pretending we are winning because the night sky lights up with successful intercepts. But what happens on day 40? What happens on day 60? When the American Defense Industrial Base, which produces only a handful of these highly advanced interceptors each month, hits zero? We are already seeing the tragic human cost of this hubris. 13 American service members are dead. 19 Israelis have lost their lives. The cost is real, the blood is real, and the depletion curve of our defense grid is terrifyingly steep. But you need to understand exactly why this depletion curve is a strategic death sentence. Let's talk about the supply chain, because wars of attrition are not won in the airspace over the target. They are won on the factory floor, and the factory floor is exactly where the United States is losing this war. The mainstream media treats interceptors like they are infinite. They talk about the Patriot system and the Arrow-3 like there is a magical warehouse in the Nevada desert stacked to the ceiling with replacement missiles just waiting to be loaded onto a C-17 and flown to the Gulf. That warehouse does not exist. The United States Defense Industrial Base manufactures a severely limited number of Patriot PAC-3 interceptors per year. We are talking about a few hundred units annually, not thousands, hundreds. These are hyper-complex, precision-engineered, solid-fueled kinetic kill vehicles. You do not simply flip a switch and print more of them overnight. Now overlay that production reality onto the events of April 2nd. In a single night of multi-axis saturation strikes, protecting Bnei Brak, protecting the Fifth Fleet in Bahrain, protecting the financial hub of Dubai, the U.S. and Israeli defense grids were forced to burn through weeks, potentially months, of their annual interceptor production capacity in a matter of hours. So, what happens when the Allied stockpile hits critical depletion? I will tell you exactly what happens. In military command, it is a concept known as target prioritization protocols. It is the coldest, most brutal mathematics in warfare. It means a three-star general sitting in CENTCOM has to look at a radar screen showing 50 incoming targets and decide which assets are worth a $4 million interceptor and which assets simply have to take the hit. Who gets the shield? Does the Fifth Fleet headquarters in Bahrain get the shield? Does the critical petrochemical infrastructure in the UAE get the shield? Do the population centers in Israel get the shield? Because the terrifying unspoken truth inside the Pentagon right now is this: you no longer have enough interceptors to defend all three. Iran knows this. They mapped our logistical bottlenecks. They are not trying to defeat the United States military in a conventional force-on-force engagement. They are executing a methodical, calculated siege on the American defense supply chain. They are bleeding the shield dry. And how does Washington respond to this undeniable operational crisis? By stepping in front of a camera and declaring the threat nearly eliminated. They are using rhetoric to cover up a mathematical collapse. But rhetoric does not stop a Zolfaghar ballistic missile. Rhetoric does not bring back the 13 American service members and 19 Israelis who have already paid the ultimate price for this catastrophic strategic miscalculation. The collapse isn't coming. The collapse is here. It is happening in the skies over the Persian Gulf right now, hidden behind press briefings and sanitized headlines. Stay with me, because in the next segment, I am going to show you the global economic shockwave this strike just triggered, and why the shutdown of Dubai's airspace is about to hit your wallet in ways the government is terrified to admit. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and stay vigilant, because the reality on the ground is moving faster than the news cycle can cover it. I'll see you in the next briefing.